Hello everyone, this is Mary Ann and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to look at the Midori MD notebook in A5 size, which I purchased from Scribe Writing Essentials for 475 pesos, as you can see on the tag right there. I purchased this, I think it was last year, and I never really used it, and I will explain why later. But for now, let us have a close look at this notebook and discuss its features. First, it has this sort of, do I call it a sleeve? It wraps around the entire notebook, front and back, but not all the way up to the top. At the back, it just has some writing in it that discusses the pleasures of writing. It talks about the paper, it talks about the binding, it talks about the pages that are blank, and it says when the pages are full, a personalized, one-of-a-kind book has been created that you can put among the books in your bookshelves. And at the front, it just has a little bit of info about the company that makes it. It is now called Design Fill, and it can be taken off like that, and that's how it looks away from the notebook. The notebook also has this other wrapping. It's made of a transparent kind of paper. It's not plastic, it's paper. It looks like a waxed, very shiny but very thin kind of rice paper that we are going to put aside for now. And that is the cover. It's made of just a cardboard cover, but it does have this very pretty embossing of the company logo. It says MD paper, made in Japan. I hope you can see it. I have turned on the flash of my camera for this, and the the cardboard is very smooth, and on the spine you can see there that kind of a mesh material. I think that is cloth that is glued onto the spine all the way to the back, and the back cover is the same as the material on the front. On the spine also, there is a very slim yellow silk ribbon that is glued on, and it's going to be a bookmark that we will see later. There's also a sticker sheet that has idea and diary on it. I guess you can use it for the spine, but I tried it and it's too wide for the spine. I don't know what you can use that for, but that's included in the notebook. Now the end pages are a very thick cream paper, and it has that area in there where you can put in your name and your contact number. And so those are the end paper that connects the body of the notebook to the covers. And I'm gonna try to find the signatures. This notebook does have signatures in it, and that's the reason why it can lie flat when you open it. It lies completely flat, as I will show you later. It has signatures in it, and the signatures are bound a certain way to create a spine that looks as if it is perfect bound. The color of the pages are described as cream, and it is very nice. It is not, I prefer cream paper myself because I think that white paper is too harsh for the eyes, and I think cream paper shows off different fountain pen ink colors much better in my opinion, but it's really a preference. You might prefer high white, but my preference is the cream paper in notebooks. And here is a close-up look at the binding, and we are going to look for the center of one signature and see how they are stitched together. I have turned on my flash for this notebooks so we can see the details better. And here I am. I'm trying to look for that center of the signature. I'm looking for one signature and trying to find the center of it so that we can flip to exactly where the stitches are exposed so we can see how the stitches actually look. Um, the signatures are done very, very well. You can hardly see them when you look at the corner of the spine. And at first I thought this was perfect bound, but there is no way that a perfect bound notebook is going to lay flat when you open it. So I figured out there were signatures in it. And here is the center of one signature. The stitching was done with white thread, and it's very, very well done. The stitches are of equal lengths, and the stitches are of equidistant lengths. Um, and I really like that in this notebook. And the signatures are the reason why this notebook can lie flat when you open it. And now we have this bookmark, which we saw glued to the spine earlier on. You can use that to mark what page you're on. So that's how the pages look when they're opened. They lie flat, so you don't have to struggle with keeping the notebook open or the pages open when you are writing in it. And that's what I really appreciate. This is what I have appreciated in the Moleskine notebook before in the early 2000s, and that was the time when their paper was also fountain pen friendly, but they changed their paper. Now, that missing page is one that I have cut out because I gave a sample of the paper to a friend of mine with samples of writing on it. Let us try to see how certain pens work on the paper. Right now, I am testing it with the pen that I'm using right now for One Book July 2017. It is the Lamy Pacific All Star. It is a limited or special edition pen for 2017. I have put on there a 1.5 millimeter italic nib, and I'm using the Lamy Pacific bottled ink, and that is how it looks. As you can see, the ink did not dry completely. You can still see glimmers of the wetness on there, and it does not bleed through, but there is show through, there is ghosting, but it doesn't bleed through. And I do like that it shows some amount of shading, which is very, very important to me. When I use a fountain pen, I always need to see shading, which is the difference in every ink, in every handwriting stroke. There are different ways in which the ink pools on the line that you just wrote. So some areas will be darker, some areas will be lighter, and it's a fountain pen writing quality that I really appreciate and that I really, really prefer to have. So that's why I use papers that show off this quality. When I write in cursive, um, it does show shading. Not so much, but enough for me to like the paper and conclude that it is fountain pen friendly paper. Next, let us try out this Lamy Safari with an extra fine nib. This is the pen that I am using for when I do my research for my graduate thesis. I have showed this pen before in a previous update for One Book July, which I will link down below. I have loaded Noodler's Jivago into that pen, and I am now testing that pen and ink combination on the Midori MD notebook. The writing is very, very smooth. It feels very smooth on both the 1.5 millimeter italic nib and on the extra fine nib. And here's a close-up of how the writing looks with an extra fine nib and Noodler's Jivago. I don't really expect shading to show up when using an extra fine nib, but I do like that it doesn't really bleed through on the paper, and because the lines are extra fine, it hardly ever shows up, although you can still see a bit of ghosting, but it is not as visible as the Lamy 1.5 millimeter writing. Now I am trying out the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pen. I have tried out 3 different colors just to see how they would all look when we look at the back side of this paper. I have tried 2 darkish colors and 1 medium color, or a color that is of a medium kind of darkness. And of course, since this is a brush pen, I don't really expect shading, but I am happy to see that it did not bleed through on the paper at all. Of course, there is show through, just like with a italic nib, but as long as it doesn't bleed through, I'm okay. And now let us try to wet the paper even more. I have there a water brush pen, and I am just putting in an extra sheet of paper to protect the paper on behind that one that we are testing, just in case it bleeds through, although I I hope it doesn't. Now I'm just putting on a lot of water on that scribble that I have made earlier with a Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pen, and putting on a really huge amount of water. Try to see if that is going to make the paper react in such a way that is going to destroy the integrity of the paper, or if the water is going to bleed through. As you can see, there's a lot of water on those areas of watercolor, and let us try to look at the other side of that paper and see if the water has seeped through. At this point, I can say that it did not seep through, although there is a reasonable amount of warping of the paper, and that happens to all paper when you put water on them. The thinner the paper, the more the warping, but all papers warp when you put water on them. Even watercolor paper, they warp. So I have actually waited for the entire thing to be completely dry because I wanted to see how it looks when it's completely dry. And let's have a close look. The area over here is just starting to bleed through. I hope you can see. The flash is still on, but on the area, yeah, that one is just starting to bleed through, but hasn't bled through completely. And then on the area below it, it did not bleed through. As you can see, I did put a whole lot of water onto that violet area compared with the one in below it. So that's how it looks. It did not bleed through, but it was just starting to. And that is a close look and a paper test of the Midori MD notebook in A5 size with a cream blank pages that I purchased from Scribe for 475 pesos. I like this notebook. I did not use it. I purchased this last year, but I never got to use it because I felt quite afraid because it looked so beautiful. I'm not sure if you feel that same way about very beautiful notebooks. I like that it has a very spare, very minimalistic design. That's always the design that I associate with some things that are designed by the Japanese, and I really do appreciate that. Um, I would definitely be needing a notebook cover if I use this, but since this is a standard A5 size, I think it would be easy to find a cover. Like maybe the Hobonichi covers would fit. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I don't really know what I'm gonna use this notebook for, since I already journal on my loose leaf personal sized sheets in my binder and then archive them as I fill the pages up. So I don't know what I'm going to be using this notebook for. So for now, I'm just going to put it back into the packaging and keep it in a drawer together with the rest of my stash. I do like this notebook a lot. And eventually, in time in the future, I am going to use it. But for now, I'm going to keep it where it's safe. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.